everyone. Thanks for coming in this cold day. My name is Ehsan. My friend Shayeste and me is going to be your host today, which is International Human Rights Day. I want to acknowledge we are standing on the occupied indigenous land. Thanks for coming to support the revolutionary uprising in Iran. It started about 3 months ago after Mahsa Amini brutal murder by Iranian security guard. We will have a few short speeches in 2 languages, Farsi and English, about human rights. 2 days ago, Iranian brutal regime hanged protesters in Tehran. His name was Mohsen Shekari, who was in the custody. Also, they killed 22 years old Kurdish protesters, Shadan Ahmadi, under torture the same day, that means about 3 days ago, hours after his arrest. This is a human rights in Iran. And also, there are more, they got a death sentence, they are waiting for to be executed, unfortunately, which 3 of them, they are underage or under 18, and their child. And by the name of, we got a few of them, their name, Mahan Sedarat, Mohammed Burkani, 18 years old, and Saman Saidi, Tumaj Salehi, which both are rappers, and Dr. Garahasani. They're in the jail right now, and there are more is coming. Unfortunately, the human rights in Iran is violently destroyed. And we need your support, and now we can say, stop execution in Iran!
Stop execution in Iran!
Stop execution in Iran! Stop execution in Iran!
هر یه نفر کشته شه 1000 نفر پشته شه. هر یه نفر کشته شه 1000 نفر پشته شه. هر یه نفر کشته شه 1000 نفر پشته شه.
هر یه نفر کشته شه 1000 نفر پشته شه.
بهشون بگیم بی پرده کارگریم نبرده.
بهشون بگیم بی پرده کارگریم نبرده.
بهشون بگیم بی پرده کارگریم نبرده. So thank you for everyone that you attend in this gathering. Our first speaker is a radical socialist, Ari Maestro. Today she's with us. She's working with Malaya movement in Canada, chapter in BC. Thank you. Solidarity greetings to all of you standing here in the cold, to the people passing by, to the police officers here walking across the road, to the people in their cars. Today we mark the 74th anniversary of International Human Rights Day, with rallies around the globe by groups like us. Why? To send the message that human rights abuses exist, that they happen with impunity, that governments like the one in Iran and the one in the Philippines, whose job it is to protect its citizens and its residents, are the ones responsible for state-sanctioned human rights violations. It is appalling, but it is the truth. We mark International Human Rights Day by remembering and supporting all those who defend human rights and civil liberties around the world. On December 10, in the Philippines, people from all sectors, led by the workers and the peasants, joined by women, teachers, lawyers, LGBTQ, youth and students, urban poor, fisher folk, relatives of political prisoners, and migrant workers marched on the streets of Manila and went to the foot of the Malacanang Palace, which is the residence of the President of the Philippines. And they shouted their call, karapatan ng mamamayan, ipaglaban. In English, it means fight for people's rights. On December 10, 141 political prisoners in 4 jails in the island of Negros organized a 24-hour fasting to highlight their situation and to press for the release of political prisoners, first with the sick and the elderly, the women, the nursing mothers, those who have been in detention for more than 10 years without having their cases resolved, and also to tell the public their poor prison conditions, their lack of access to lawyers and relatives, and also to have an increase in their prison food or their prison budget. On the same day that the political prisoners in Negros organized their fasting, 36 political prisoners in Manila, hundreds of miles away, also organized their solidarity fasting. And 8 women, political prisoners, in another jail also went on solidarity fasting. This shows us that even in jail, political prisoners are organized and fighting back. Okay. The governments of Iran and the Philippines, like any other despotic or ruthless government, are afraid of dissent. They're afraid of the truth. Activism is not terrorism. Activism is not a crime, but they do not believe that. Like Mohsen Shikari, convicted and sentenced to death for being an activist. The Marcos Jr. government does the same like its predecessors. To anybody, human rights defenders and critics, critical of state policies, to anyone exposing government of surrendering its national sovereignty to U.S. foreign interests and Chinese foreign interests. Okay. Ruthless states, despotic governments, and the ruling privileged classes forget that when they make the lives of people living hell economically, culturally, politically, by trampling on human rights and civil liberties, by selling the country to foreign interests, that they only fan the flames of dissent and armed resistance. It is logic because oppressed people fight back. I believe the truth and justice will prevail, otherwise we will not be here. You know that as well. The ties that bind us, Filipinos and Iranians, Afghanistans, and other migrants in our diaspora are strong because human rights violations that happen to other people, whether they are thousands of miles away from us, concern us and affect us here. Our humanity, our solidarity holds us together. Human rights has no boundaries. And so I say, I believe that true justice will be done, it will prevail, and only then can we celebrate International Human Rights Day. Long live international solidarity, free all political prisoners. Activism is not a crime. Activism is not terrorism. Long live international solidarity.
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 Down with Islamic Republic of Iran.
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 مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی.
مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی.
مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی.
مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی.
Unfortunately, one of the speakers couldn't make it to come here personally, but he sent his solidarity statement. His name is Bruce Allen. His name is Bruce Allen. He used to be vice president of former CAW Local 199, representing psychiatric general motor workers. Also, he was vice president of Niagara Regional Labor Council. He starts with friends, fellow workers, and comrades. It is a great privilege and pleasure to be given the opportunity to address your mobilization in support of the massive popular resistance to the fascistic and theocratic regime currently oppressing the people of Iran and which systematically oppresses women and workers in particular. The ongoing struggle for freedom and equality in Iran has been waged since the Islamic Republic consolidated power in 1979 after the Mullah hijacked the popular uprising against the hated American stooge, the Shah. Countless workers have engaged in strikes and have relentlessly fought for their rights to form independent labor organization which truly advance their class interests. Likewise, countless sisters have resisted the brutal and anachronistic patriarchy of the Islamic regime through individual and collective acts of resistance over the past 43 years, and in doing so have demonstrated continuity with the powerful movement for women's liberation that was such an important part of uprising in 1979. For engaging in these countless acts of resistance, both Iranian workers and women have been imprisoned, tortured, and murdered by the Islamic regime in Iran. Many thousands of others have been forced into exile in countries around the world where they have continued the struggle against the regime. Logically, we must enthusiastically applaud and support all these struggles for freedom and equality in Iran. Indeed, we must do even more. We must translate our words into action by relentlessly engaging in unwavering solidarity with this struggle, and we must do so with increasing intensity for as long as necessary, meaning until those waging this struggle for freedom and equality succeed in smashing the fascistic, theocratic Islamic Republic of Iran. Then and only then will their victory be our victory. And then their conquest of freedom and equality will inevitably enhance our struggle for freedom and equality for women and workers where we live and across the world.
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی!
مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی!
محسن شکاری. Say his name, محسن شکاری. Say his name,
محسن شکاری!
say his name,
محسن شکاری!
say his name.
محسن شکاری!
The terrorist Islamic regime has started to kill innocent people that they are holding in jails just for protesting. The Islamic regime of Iran carried out its first execution of a young protester. Shame! On December 8th, just 2 days ago, Mohsen Shekari was executed. Mohsen Shekari's only crime was blocking a road during the protest. He was hanged 2 days ago. Shame!
Hey!
Mohsen Shekari was only 23 years old. Mohsen Shekari was hanged after being convicted of waging war against God in a sham trial without any due process. Shame!
Hey!
Mohsen Mohsen Shekari was executed for exercising his most basic human right to protest. Mohsen was silently executed. Shame! Shame! Mohsen Shekari families was told that if they stay quiet about his arrest, they will release him. Mohsen's family stayed quiet, but they killed him anyway. Shame! Mohsen Shekari's family was waiting outside of the prison to hear news about his release. But instead, Mohsen's family was told he was executed. Shame! Shame! The regime lied to Mohsen's family and forced them to stay quiet. They promised them that Mohsen would be released. Instead, they killed him. There are no words to describe this cruel and brutal human killer regime. What word is it okay? What word it is okay to execute a 23-year-old man for protesting? Shame! Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
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 Free all political prisoners in 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 Iran!
And now it's here we have our next speaker. She's a dear comrade, a very, very active and socialist comrade who is very active in organizing and mobilizing in labor movement. Our comrade PJ.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you today. First, I wanted to acknowledge here that we're standing on the unceded, unsurrendered, and stolen lands here. It's indigenous territories since time immemorial. In this Coast Salish land here is Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh that we're standing on. And me and Surrey, I'm on Kwantlen and Katzie territory. This land was taken by theft and murder, and Canada continues to oppress Indigenous people. And that's why it is so important that all of our struggles are linked up. Many of the people that I work with, homeless or very poor, working class poor people. I live in North Surrey, very poor community. Many don't hear about these injustices that are going on, but they have started to hear about this recently because of the movements of you people here and because of the brave struggles of the people there. And it has been time and time again for those of us who've been involved in labor movements. You know, those of us, I'm with a union. It's a long time, many years of fighting history. It's called the Industrial Workers of the World, or the IWW. And we believe that there is no justice and there will be no peace between classes, that there is always a war between the rich and the poor. We have noticed very rich people in Tehran and Iran right now selling their mansions and selling their houses and trying to get out of the country. The money is starting to run. The capitalists are starting to abandon them, even their own capitalists. But that is the only power that will really bring down dictatorships, is the power of working people united. When we unite, we can win. When we unite all these various struggles, we've seen it here in struggles against the police. In Surrey, the police take up 30% of the city budget. We need to organize in our communities, and that's what's been so impressive. Not only the incredible resistance, women burning hijabs bravely, coming out together, and in Iran we've seen cutting of hair publicly and protest incredible acts of resistance in the streets. The nerve that it takes for these people to go out and face police, it's incredible to me. It's an inspiration to workers all around the world. But it's up to us now to really reach out to the labor movement. I want to see the Vancouver District Labor Council. I want to see the Burnaby District Labor Council. I want to see Surrey Labor, not just the bureaucrats, the workers. We need to take this struggle to all the various unions. When we're in student unions, we got to take it. TSSU, the SFU Students Union, they do so much in active with our movements around homeless people and Indigenous struggles here in the streets of Vancouver. We need to build that attention and make that regime in Iran down with the Islamic regime of Iran. This is so terrible. This theocratic, let me get to my notes, authoritarian regime is not just about control over women's bodies. It's not just about the hijab. It's about control over all workers' bodies. It's about the chains that they want to control our labor. And that's why the only thing that can really defeat this is the power of organized resistance. Not individual, but collective organized struggle and building strikes and workers' power and making sure that people know that we're in solidarity and that they're not alone. Moving from protest to resistance. I had names, Mosa and Shikari, people have mentioned. I had other names here I wanted to mention. You know, Indigenous folks say, you know, we're for the 7 generations. We remember the ancestors, but we're fighting for those future generations. And there's been so many uprisings that I've seen so many times. I had so much hope that Iran was going to see a revolution, but this time, like no other, I really feel that we have a hope for a revolution to overcome this. And I do see the deaths in Indigenous resistance is also about a climate change and is about the young people around the world now coming together to realize that these capitalists are never going to stop. They will burn it all down. We have to stop them. And so that's why increasingly the climate justice movement is uniting up against the kind of environmental racism, is uniting up with Indigenous people, and is really starting to confront the colonial and capitalist powers behind this.
Say his name, Mohsen Shikari. Say his name,
Mohsen Shikari.
Say his name,
Mohsen Shikari.
Say her name,
Mahsa Amini.
Say her name.
Mahsa Amini.
درود بر شما یاران و همراهان، همه آنهایی که برای آزادی و برابری جان باختند و امروز در خیابان‌های ایران و در سراسر جهان علیه این رژیم انسانکش و زنستیز برمیخیزند و خونشان وثیقه رهایی مردم ایران است. امروز به مناسبت روز جهانی حقوق بشر ما اینجا ایستاده ایم تا فریاد بزنیم که در 44 سال گذشته حقوق بشر به وسیله رژیم انسانکش جمهوری اسلامی هر روز نقض شده و مردم ایران کار به استخوانشان رسیده. مردم فریاد میزنند که رژیم بچه کش نمیخوایم. مردم ایران خواهان یک جامعه آزاد، دموکراتیک و برابر هستند، جایی که درش نه از مجازات وحشیانه اعدام خبری باشه، نه از شکنجه، نه از زندانی سیاسی. مردم ایران 44 سال قربانی دادند، روزهایی که شما پیشروان این مبارزه علیه این رژیم ددمنش، علیه ولایت وقیحش ایستادید. بخش وسیعی از مردم ایران در خواب بودند. امروز اما میلیون ها نفر به خیابان آمدند که بگویند ما این رژیم تئوکراتیک دینی ضد انسانی رو نمیخوایم. ما نسل جوانی داریم که هوشمند، دلاور، آگاه و مبارزه و جان خودش رو برای آزادی، برای یک فردای بهتر برای همگان گذاشته در کف دست و در خیابان‌ها می جنگه. من مایلم از این فرصت استفاده کنم و یک ارجاع تاریخی بدم. جنبش دانشجویی که در این روزها 3 روز اعتصاب غرورآفرین رو سازمان داده، مردم بسیاری پاسخ دادن. از دهه‌های بسیار پیش خاری بود در چشم همه مرتجعان و امروز هم این جنبش صدای آزادی خواهی است، صدای انسان‌هایی است که برای یک دنیای بهتر می جنگند. همچنین من مایلم از این فرصت استفاده کنم و یادآوری کنم روز 13 آذر، روز مبارزه با سانسور، روز به خاک افتادن محمد مختاری ها، محمد جعفر پوینده ها که روز مرگش رو کانون نویسندگان ایران به روز مبارزه با سانسور تبدیل کرده. از این فرصت ما استفاده میکنیم که یادی بکنیم از قهرمانانی مثل سعید سلطانپورها، از انسانهای بزرگی مانند احمد شاملوها که در برابر استبداد، سانسور و سرکوب ایستادند، با نثار جان و زندگیشون چراغ آگاهی و اعتراض رو فروزان نگه داشتن و امروز هم در صف مقدم ایجاد یک جامعه آزاد و برابر ایستادند. درود بر شما که در این روز سرد اینجا هستید در همبستگی با مردم ایران. درود بر جوانان و زنان آگاه، درود بر طبقه کارگری ایران که در اعتصاباتش با پرداختن بیشترین بها علیه این رژیم ضد بشری ایستاده. درود بر محسن شکاری ها که از کف خیابان برآمدند، همونطوری که شاملو گفت راست چون عامی مردی شهیدی، انسانی که از دل اعماق برآمد و به صدای همه ما تبدیل شد. جمهوری اسلامی تصور میکنه که با اعدام محسن و محسنها میتونه با هراس افکنی مردم رو به خاموشی بکشونه، اما نگیرد این شعله خاموشی، این صدا خاموش نمیشه. مردم مبارز ایران تا سرنگونی این رژیم ضد بشر و انسان ستیز و ضد زن از پا نخواهند نشست. پیش به سوی انقلاب. زنده باد وحدت و مبارزه ستمکشان و مردم آزادی خواه. زنده باد آزادی.
زندگی آزادی.
زندگی آزادی.
ژن ژن آزادی.
ژن آزادی.
ژن ژن آزادی.
ژن آزادی.
We have another statement of our comrade David McNally. Our comrade is a radical socialist activist and award-winning scholar, authoring over 60 research manuscripts, 7 books, and countless public lectures. And he's a mobilizer and organizer in community. He used to be in Toronto University, and he was a professor in York University, but right now he's living in Houston, and he's a professor in Houston University. He sent his solidarity statement. The popular uprising in Iran is an inspiration to everyone fighting for a world free from oppression. With enormous courage, hundreds of thousands of people have defied the security forces, demonstrated in the streets, waged strikes, and joined protests for freedom. The awakening of millions in Iran in support of women, life, freedom deserves the solidarity and support of progressive people around the world. They have reminded us that oppressed people everywhere have nothing to lose but their own chains. David McNally, editor of Spectre Journal and distinguished professor, University of Houston. Thank you, David.
Woo!
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
Down with Islamic fascist regime 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 in Iran!
بهشون بگین بی پرده! کارگری نبرده!
بهشون بگیم بی پرده!
کارگری نبرده!
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran!
Down with Islamic Republic of Iran! زن زندگی آزادی! مرگ بر جمهوری اسلامی! محسن شکاری. Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! Say his name! The execution of the Mohsen Shekari must be met with strong reactions, otherwise we will be facing daily executions of protesters. They all are at risk of execution. We need international attention. We need the support of the public. We need Vancouver to support us. Mohsen Shekari will not be forgotten. We will not allow the Islamic regime of Iran to execute innocent people silently. We will scream their names from even corner of the world, any corner of the world. Say his name. Say his name. Free all political prisoners in Iran.
Free our political prisoners in Iran!
Free all political prisoners in Iran.
Free our political prisoners in Iran!
Stop execution in Iran.
Stop execution in Iran!
Stop execution in Iran.
Stop execution in Iran!
چند روز گذشته در پی فراخوان دانشجویان، کارگران و زنان و معلمین 3 روز اعتصاب با شکوه سراسری و روز دانشجو برگزار شد. ولی رضا پهلوی که خودش را مدافع حقوق زنان، دانشجویان معترض امروز، کارگران ایران میدونه و به شکل تبلیغی صندوق دفاع از اعتصاب کارگران رو درست میکنه، روز دانشجو 16 آذر رو با سکوت در خاموشی محض گذروند. شاید فیلم تکرار تاریخ حمله ستمگران به دانشگاه تهران را تماشا می‌کرد در سال 32 زمانی که نیکسون معاون وقت رئیس جمهور آمریکا به ایران اومد و دانشجویان به اعتراض آمدن نیکسون به ایران در دانشگاه تهران اعتراض و تجمع کردند و به دستور پدرش دانشجویان را به رگبار بستند و 3 دانشجو کشته شد و بیشماری دستگیر. امروز همچنین جنایتی توسط جمهوری اسلامی داره تکرار میشه. باید گفت تاریخ ثبت کرده، حافظه تاریخی ما شبها و مردم فراموش نخواهد کرد و این شمایید که هرگز نکردید و سوال نکردید و از حقوق بشر هم صحبت میکنید. و امروز ببینید روز جهانی حقوق بشر و حقوق بشر دارید صحبت میکنید، ولی اون سه تا دانشجو که تو دانشگاه کشته شدن هیچ صحبتی نمیکنه و سکوت رو برگزار میکنه. حال رفیق عزیزمون یکی از رفقای کردمون میاد صحبت بکنه به زبان کردی.
زور سپاس بۆم دەرفەتە. ژن ژیان ئازادی،
ژن ژیان ئازادی،
زن زندگی ئازادی.
زن زندگی ئازادی.
من بە ناوی کۆمیونیتی کوردی شاری ڤانکۆڤەر سپاسی ئەم کۆمەڵە هەڵسوورا و چالاکوانە دەکەم کە هەموو ڕۆژێ هەموو شەممەیەک پێش نیوەڕۆ لێرەکانە مەوجودن. دەستیان خۆش بێت. من دەمەوێت تاکید لەوە بکەمەوە شۆڕش و ڕاپەڕینی گەلانی ئێران بایەخێکی زۆر زۆر گرنگی هەیە. ئەرک و بەرپرسیارەتێکی مێژوویی دەکەوێتە سەر هەر تاجێکی ئەو وڵاتە و هەموو جیهان کە بەرپرسیارەتی خۆی ڕاپەڕێنێ. لەبەرەوەی شۆڕشی ئێران هیچی کەمتر نییە لە شۆڕشی فەڕەنسا، لە ئینقلابی فەڕەنسا، لە شۆڕشی ئەپارتایتی جنسی جنوبی ئەفریقا. شۆڕشی گەلانی ئێران وەرچەرخانێکی مێژوویی لە دنیادا دروست دەکات. ژن لە ماڵەکان دێنێتە دەرەوە دەیکاتەوە مرۆڤ، نەک یەکسانی دەکات لەگەڵ پیاو. ئەم ئەرکە مێژوویە با لە دەست خۆمان نەدەین، هەمومان بینە مەیدان. ئەگەر یەک کۆمنتیش لە سۆشیال میدیا بنووسی ئەوە نیشانەی ئەوەیە تۆ بەشداریت لەم شۆڕشەدا کردووە. وڵاتێکە یەکەم وڵات لە دنیادا ئێرانە کە زۆرترین ئیعدامی ژن دەکات. دەبێ ئیعدام لەخوو بکرێتەوە، نەمێنێ. کەسێک بەهۆی ئەوەی کە لە خۆپیشاندانێک بەشداری دەکات ئیعدام دەکرێت. ئەمە لە هیچ هینێکی دنیادا ڕەوا نییە. بەڵام خۆشبەختانە سەدایەکی زۆر زۆر گەورەی پەیدا کردووە مەسەلەی لەخۆکردنەوەی ئەدام، مەسەلەی سەرکوتی خۆپیشاندانەکان لە دنیادا هەمووی پشتیوانی لەوەی دەکەن کە ئەم ڕژێمە دەبێت بڕوات. چیتی کا خەڵک ئەم ڕژێمەی قبول نییە. لە کۆتاییدا زۆر سپاسی ئامادەبووتان دەکەم کە بەو سەرمایە هاتوون لێرەکانە دروستمی خۆتان بەرز دەکەنەوە. بژی ئازادی، مەرگ بەر دیکتاتۆر. مەرگ بەر دیکتاتۆر.
هر یه نفر کشته شه، 1000 نفر کشته شه.
هر یه نفر کشته شه، 1000 نفر کشته شه.
هر یه نفر کشته شه، 1000 نفر کشته شه.
هر یه نفر کشته شه، 1000 نفر کشته شه.
Stop execution in Iran!
Stop execution in Iran!
Violation of human rights in Iran is unimaginable. The president of Iran is an ex-member of execution committee. From 1981 to 1991, they murdered more than 5,000 people in opposition in jail. To my knowledge, there is no country in the world to have an execution committee. I can't understand. Execution committee? To execute people? I don't know any country. Now, he's the president. He went to University of Tehran on Students' Day, December 7, a couple days ago. Most city was on a strike for 3 days. Truckers, workers, teachers, students, workers, nurses. He gave a speech to pro-regime students and security guard. He said, we will control this movement. He gave a green light to the Violation Act. Next day executed Mohsen Shakurian, killed Shaman Ahmadi under torture, and more protesters got death sentence. Some of them are a child under 18, waiting for the execution. They need your support to stop execution. We need your support. They need international support. If we can stop this, even if we can save one life, even if one life, that would be wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. You made it much, much greater, our rally and gathering today in here. I wish we see you again every Saturdays, the same time, 1 p.m. until 2. We are here. I really appreciated your presence here. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Long live international solidarity!
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 Down with Islamic Republic of Iran! Say his name! Say his name! Say her name! Say her name! Say her name! Say his name! Say his name! Down with Islamic Republic of Iran! Down with Islamic